You are now tuned into Celeste the Therapist Podcast. Hello, my name is Celeste. Thank you so much for giving me a try. If you are new here, I want to say thank you so much for checking me out. What we do here is I talk about areas of our lives that we get stuck in. I talk about why we get stuck, and I help you shift the way you think about it by giving you practical tools. I'm all about using what you have, starting where you can. And I think a lot of times people tend to give up because they don't understand why they're feeling this things that they're feeling or why things are happening. And I find that the more educated we are about a topic, the better it is for us to create change in our life. If you are a longtime listener, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I appreciate you. If you enjoy these episodes that I do me a favor, share it with somebody that you love. If you want a topic discussed, all you got to do is email me info@celestethetherapist.com. If you want to follow me, you can follow me everywhere at Celeste the Therapist. Also, I have a whole wellness center that I created called Shifting the Way You Think. And if you want to learn more about the Wellness Center, get involved, attend one of the classes, all you got to do is go to stwyt.com. Again, that's www.stwyt.com. All right, let's get into this amazing episode. Hey, beautiful people. If you are listening to me on audio, I am on YouTube. So if you want to follow me and subscribe, go head over to YouTube. I'm excited to do this episode today. There's a lot happening in the world. And if you are new here, I want you to use this podcast as a teaching tool. So grab a notebook, a pen, and take notes, right? Take what you can, leave what you can't. My goal in this podcast is to help shift the way you think. I feel like we get really stuck in our emotions and it makes it really challenging to get through life. And today, the topic I want to talk about is protecting your peace. So, with all the things that are happening, I want you to be able to understand how to like name your emotions. Your emotions are very valid. And I want to help you think about ways you can work on yourself because our system was not meant to live in this high chaotic state, right? It breaks down. And I know I can't change the pain that people are experiencing. I'm talking to people every day. I can't change the chaos in the world, but my goal is to help offer you another way of kind of doing it because I know for a lot of people we weren't really taught how to do it right. And a lot of times we're drinking it away, eating it away, sleeping it away, and then we're struggling, right? So I want to try to help you rethink what that looks like. Get your notebook, get your pen. First, I want you to think about naming emotions, right? The first part of how you're going to navigate everything that's going on is being mindful on what you're feeling. And I'm just going to put this emotion wheel up. And if you are not watching it, you can actually Google feelings wheel or emotion chart. This specific one I got from Beam, it's an organization, and it shows different emotions, right? There's the main one on this one is kind of like shook, joyful, beast mode, peaceful, sad, heated. You may find a different variation, but I want you to start with getting an emotion chart and just kind of looking at it even now in this moment, just kind of checking in with what you're feeling. When it comes to naming emotions, and if you are not watching it, I want you to take a deep breath in and out, just like that. Now I want you to take a moment to reflect, right? Think about what you're feeling right now in this moment. And if you can name your feeling, right? It could be anything from being happy to feeling frustrated. And then if you are in a safe space, you're not driving, I want to encourage you to close your eyes just for a moment. I want you to visualize your emotions, right? You could think of them as colors or shapes. Like, what do they look like to you right now? Doing this can help you identify and articulate what you're feeling. Now, once you have a sense of what you're feeling, I want you to try to write it down. Being able to write it down can really help you gain more insight into what's going on. So if you're feeling anxious, let's just use the news for example, right? Instead of saying, I'm anxious, try to dig deeper. I want you to ask yourself, what specifically is causing that anxiety? Is it fear of the unknown? Maybe being concerned about a family or a friend, or even yourself? Having a sense of helplessness about a situation, right? Now, when you pinpoint the root cause, you can start to understand your feelings better. So I'm going to stay with that example. So let's say you realize that your anxiety is stemming from worried about your parents' health. Now that you've named the emotion and the cause, you can kind of challenge that and maybe even call them and check in on them. Let's say that your parent is not doing well, right? And you don't know what's going on with them, and you're like taking them to the doctors, right? I'm just using this as an example. You can say, I'm doing the best I can right now with the information I have. A lot of times when it comes to worry, fear, anxiety, those kind of things, our mind needs answers. And sometimes we don't have answers, right? We don't understand what's going on. We don't know. And that could be challenging for our mind. And in those instances, you say out loud, you say to yourself, I don't know what's going on, but I'm doing the best that I can right now. Like that's important. I want to talk about the power of perspective, right? So we talked about like the importance of naming our emotion. And if you're not familiar with the feelings wheel or have an emotion chart, I encourage you to screenshot it, put it on your phone, right? In the morning before you go to bed. When you're like feeling something, check in with how you're feeling. Give it a name. Giving it a name, talking about it out loud, I promise you it gives it less power. But I want to talk about like the power of perspective, right? So oftentimes we can get stuck in a single way of viewing the circumstances, which make it feel even heavier. Like the example I gave with your parent, like I don't know what's going on with them, and we go into worst case scenario with a lot of things that happens, and a lot of times it's because if you want to know why does that happen, why am I always in survival mode, why am I always going into worst case scenario? A lot of times your system or the things that you've experienced has may have been hard, and your mind is just taking old information. When that feeling comes in, right, it's taking old information, it's bringing it up to the front, and it's trying to get you ready, right? And so that's what happens, right? We are humans. When it comes to our system and that bias that we have around the thing that's negative, it was done to protect us, right? And a lot of times that happens. And if you look at my last episode I did, episode 502, I believe it is, I talked about understanding negativity bias and how it affects our mind and body and why it happens. If you haven't listened to that episode, and you're struggling with like kind of being in survival mode and thinking negative all the time, check out that episode 502. And so being mindful on the fact that sometimes you can get stuck in one way of thinking. Let's just take my wellness center that I created, for example. I've never done it before. There was a lot of fear. I could get stuck in like, is this really going to work? Right? Because that's a real possibility. So a lot of times people just get stuck in, is this really going to work, and never try. So be really mindful of that when it comes to that. Be really mindful of that. So cognitive reframing. So it looks at a situation from a different angle. So for example, instead of thinking I can't handle this, try reframing it to I'm doing the best that I can and that's enough. It's okay to feel what you're feeling, right? But shifting your perspective can really lighten the load. The feelings are very valid, but making a decision off of a feeling is the issue that comes into play. Me not deciding to open my wellness center because of the feeling of fear and if this is going to work. A lot of people have come through here since I opened it in November 2024. Those people wouldn't have been able to be in this space if I allow fear to stop me. Right? So cognitive reframing, all it does, it doesn't tell you like, "Oh, don't feel that." It's not gaslighting you about how you're feeling. All it's doing is helping you think of things with a new lens and a new perspective. And in order for that to happen, not only is it about being able to consciously say and reframe, but also feeding your system with new information. If you're always with people that are negative, if you if all your time is like spent on social media and looking at all of these glitz and glams and things or hard things that are happening in the world, you're going to find yourself always thinking in that way because that's what you're exposing your mind to, right? Anytime you're struggling, ask yourself, okay, what's going on? What have I been doing? Who have I been around? What have I been exposing my mind to? Have I been moving my body? Right? Being mindful on what you're feeling and really checking in with yourself and asking yourself what's really going on is so important. We have so much power in our mind, but we haven't been taught how to utilize the power that we have. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to help you shift the way you think, right? So you can really start to engage in the thoughts that are coming in and not allowing your survival instincts to only take over, right? I named my wellness center Shifting the Way You Think because I really want people to learn new ways of operating in life. So, we talked about the importance of naming our emotion. We talked about the importance of looking at things in a different perspective. And now I want to kind of help you think about practical tools, right? That's one thing about this podcast is that I want to educate you about what's going on, but I also want you to gain practical tools so you can understand how you can deal with the situation that's happening right in front of you. I hope you're enjoying the episode. Quick announcement. I want to give you some ways you can support, right? I have two books. One is called Relationship Goals. It's a guide to a healthy relationship. I also have a guided journal. And if you find yourself stuck in thoughts, want to get your thoughts on paper, I ask you different questions and I also ask you how you're feeling. I provide you with the feelings chart. If you go to celestethetherapist.com, you can find 365 days of intentional living along with relationship goals. Another way you can support me, I have this wellness center whoop, whoop, that I'm so excited about called Shifting the Way You Think Wellness Center. At my center, I do not want finances to be a reason why people can't get what they need. So if you want to donate a class to someone, please feel free to go to my website, stwyt.com, and you can give a donation. The classes run between $15 and $35. My goal is for everyone to be able to access these services regardless of finances. So if you can donate, please donate to your girl center. I would be greatly appreciated. All right, y'all, let's get back into this amazing episode. All right, let's get into practical tools. So, one of the practical tools that you can work on utilizing when it comes to what you're feeling is journaling. Writing down your thoughts is very therapeutic and it can help you gain clarity. I promise you. When you keep everything inside your mind, let's say I just used the wellness center, like, oh, am I going to really be able to do this wellness center? And then my mind thinks about ways things may not have worked out only, right? But if I'm writing it down and I'm challenging that thought, I won't find myself ruminating and feeling so stuck about that specific thing. Mindfulness and meditation is really important, especially now to set boundaries with social media, with the news, right? There's so many keyboard warriors that's going on right now, and people are engaging with keyboard warriors, getting yourself all hot and bothered for what? Like, think about it. Like, how why does this matter? Why do I need to go back and forth with them? Why am I allowing myself to engage in all of this stuff? And I don't even know this person, not paying my bills. All they're doing is creating more stress, Create boundaries about what you choose to give your time to. Create boundaries with what conversations you choose to have. I say this to my clients if they're working at a place and let's say there's some kind of stress or some kind of thing that's happening at work. So at work, all this chaos is happening. Then you get off the phone, you call your coworker, girl, can you believe what happened? Right? You're taking that chaos and you're bringing it home, and then you're engaging with it and you're activated and you're wasting time for what? The more you start to recognize like where you play a role in what you're feeling, I promise you life looks differently. I'm not saying that the world isn't chaotic. I'm not saying that things that are happening at work isn't crazy, but don't let work rule how you feel and take over all of your day, all of your weekend. Because you've been doing it for so long, it probably seems impossible, but I promise you it's possible if you just take baby steps. Creative outlets are really huge, and working on seeking support. I also want you to think about shifting focus on what you can control, right? So focusing on what you control rather than what you can't. While we may not be able to change the world overnight, we can work on our reactions and how we choose to respond to chaos, right? We got to really be mindful in what we're choosing. A lot of times we're so used to choosing chaos, we don't even realize that we're part of the reason why we're feeling so chaotic. So, some small action you can consider. So, consider volunteering in your community, donating to a cause you believe in, checking in on family and friends. Like those small things can create a ripple effect, right? Especially when you're feeling powerless, especially when you feel like you want to do something, but you don't have much to give, right? Like, even if it's like, let me check on this person, let me volunteer, right? Let me do something that can really help you a lot. Mindfulness and self care. So, mindfulness practicing being in the moment can reduce the feelings of helplessness. When it comes to anxiety, I tell you, if you've listened to this before, anxiety loves to live in the past and loves to worry about the future. So, if you see my hands, when we're doing this, we're in the way to create peace. You cannot create peace by worrying about the future. You cannot create peace by dwelling on the past. So, really being mindful of creating some mindfulness practices that includes joy, relaxation, spending time in nature, exercising, things that don't cost money. You know, we live in a country that's very about consumerism. So, like, that's why when I started the episode, I was like, get a notebook, get a pen, right? When it comes to, especially now, I just want to say this too. When it comes to consumerism, start saving your money. Stop spending money on things you don't need, right? I sell things, I sell my books, my courses, but I don't push stuff on people, right? And even with my wellness center, if people don't have it, I say, hey, reach out to us. We got you. Because I feel like healing shouldn't cost money the way it costs. So I really want you to be mindful of like what you're spending your money on before, and because financial struggles can create a lot of mental health issues and a lot of like problems in your mind, and I want you to be mindful on what you're spending money on and asking yourself, do I really need this? That's something over the last few years I've been working on. And what's helped me kind of work on it too is listening to people talking about it, listening to financial gurus, right? So when it comes to self care, I talk about moving your body, what you're eating, and your sleep. But I also want to add in the finances into it too. With everything going up and being so high, be mindful on where you're spending your money. I promise you, it matters. Um, Music and arts, like you'll be surprised. Like especially music for me is so healing. I love arts. Like I love nature. Like all of these things are free, right? And the last thing I want to say is community and connection. So building connections is important. Join community groups, online forums, and social media groups where you can share feelings. And I want to be clear when I say social media groups and online forums, productive ones, not the ones that be like all over the place. If you're finding your spirits not settled in a forum, get out of it, please. You have power over that. But you'll be surprised, like being able to express and be around like-minded people that are very solution oriented will really help you curve that feeling. Don't do this in isolation. We were never meant to be in isolation. And when we come together as a community, we can work on creating change. I promise you, like, we're stronger together than we are apart. So I really hope that was helpful. My goal is not to keep you on long, like to really give you these small nuggets to help you really think about what you can do. A lot of times we're not used to that. We didn't see our parents think about what they can do, right? We didn't see our caregivers. We didn't see our aunt, like we didn't see people do things that bring them joy. We just seen people operate in survival mode. We seen people operate struggling. And so, like, this self-care thing that I talk about, like, I know when we hear it sometimes on social media or on TV, there's a price tag involved. When it came to self-care in the past, I just seen this post on Instagram and it just warmed my spirit. It said, when it comes to like healing and self-care, it was never created. I mean, it was never meant started with like, oh, what you need to buy, or there was not this access that wasn't available to certain people. It was about food, moving your body, what do you eat, and who are you around. I want you to try to get to basics. I don't want you to keep telling yourself, well, I don't have this and I don't have that, so I can't do this. I want you to say, you can say, I don't have this, I don't have that, but not that I can't do this. Start where you are. Really small example. I really wanted to talk about mental health. I wanted to create something. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I started with posting on social media over 10 years ago. Over 10 years ago, I started posting on social media, and here I am now with a wellness center creating programming for people to work on being well, right? If I didn't start with that social media post, I would have never understood the possibilities that was available to me. When it comes to struggling in this chaotic world right now and all you know is struggle, start with something small. Maybe it's even like, let me just be mindful on how much time I'm spending on social media and I'm really checking in with myself with how I'm feeling. Starting small will allow you to see the bigger picture and the bigger things that you're able to do, right? I'm really passionate about this because I find that we suffer because we don't know in any other way. And I've worked with people for over 20 years. And what I've learned is that educating people about mental health, this thing that we can't see, and really normalizing it for people has been such a life changer for so many people. It brings me so much joy that I'm able to do this work and bring this work to my community. And I did it with so much fear, but the outcomes and the ways that people have been able to be healed, the way that people have been able to be educated just brings me so much joy. So if anything I ever say resonates for you, understand you have the power to create change. But first, start having faith and believing in yourself. When you start having faith and when you start believing in yourself, I promise you nobody can take that away from you. So until next time, beautiful people, I will talk to you later.